Okay, well, we're back here with Bryan Parker, and we have L'Oreal and some others. We are having a nice little discussion about trust law. Lex is here. And let's go ahead and, yeah, Karma's here too. I got to figure out how to do this thing here. Let's see. You guys on here? I see you. My thing isn't working. Anyways, there we go. Okay, cool. I'm back. We're back. So Lori, if you can pick up on what you were saying, if you can remember what you were saying. I liked what you were saying.
Just think trust law. People who quote.
Lori, you're
and
roboting really
Rockefeller.
hard.
Can you hear me?
No, you're
Can you hear me?
roboting. Oh, that's better.
That's better right there.
Okay, that's better. Well, so everything's in trust. Like in the Bible, it talks about the Creator. Like the Messiah said, "I'm here to do." Okay, well, what's a will? And what was the Father's will for us? And then when they basically liquidated his estate unjustly, it changed the terms of the contract that was in existence before and brought back kind of a new jurisdiction. So everything's in trust, right? So what does it mean when he says, put your trust in me? What does that actually mean? A lot of people are creating their own trust, which I've had this dichotomy. It's like, well, he doesn't say, hey, go create your own trust. And as I've studied equity, there's like 3 heads of equity, exclusive or inherent, and there's auxiliary and concurrent. And further along is perfected equity. And that's what the Messiah did, was he brought perfected. He brought the ultimate consideration. Because he was a king and he was also very wealthy. And so if everything's put in trust, then I suppose for me, when I started to learn who I was spiritually, and Lex can verify this, that whenever I'm sending off notices or doing a letter of revocation and rescission, that I always express who I am in relationship with my Creator, because they can't bring anything forward to say otherwise. They can't rebut who I am, and especially with public law 97-280, right? Where the Bible is the word of God. So even like the Messiah said, have you not read in the scriptures, and does it not say in your own law? So that's where I'm moving with all this. But I would love to hear what other people have to say.
Yeah, Lori, I've been actually past couple of weeks taking a second look at trust again, and realizing that, you hear a lot of people, like KL talks about, going by Mr. Beneficiary and always be the beneficiary. And thinking about what you're saying as well, is that, nobody was ever mandated to go out and create their own trust. There's already been one created for you. And in fact, if you look at the Lord's Prayer, the way it's laid out, it's laid out right there, showing you who the grantor is, what the res is, what the property of the trust is, where at the end gives you the authority and the duration of the trust. Everything is already established. And one of the things that I was thinking about with everybody saying, oh, you got to be the beneficiary, you got to be the beneficiary. Well, what does a trust do? One of the things that we don't hear people talk about is that one of the main objectives of a trust, from the standpoint of the grantor or the settler, is to protect the property that's within the trust, not just from outside sources, but also protect the property from the beneficiary, so the beneficiary doesn't squander the trust. That's why the trustees are put in place. So what is a trust doing? It is separating, if you're going to be claiming beneficiary, it's separating you from the trust property. And I don't really hear too many people talking about it and looking at it from that standpoint. But that's what this world's trust does.
Yeah, I completely agree,
So-
Brian. I think that's a very astute observation. And that's the reason why trustees are put in place and people are acting like trustees and their actions speak louder than words, right? The other thing is I didn't know about a discretionary trust. Discretionary trusts are different than other trusts. The discretionary trust, the trustee can arbitrarily decide which beneficiary and how they're going to help which beneficiary. Whereas an express trust extinguishes anything that's implied. And at that point, the trustee has no choice to make these discretionary opinions about which beneficiary they're going to help, and how they focus solely on the sole beneficiary because it's just expressed and not implied.
Robert,
That's something that has always kind of got me a little bit curious too, is when you hear people saying, oh, you got to be the beneficiary. It's like, okay, if you're claiming to be the beneficiary, who are you allowing to be the trustee? Because you're just going to accept whatever they dole out to you. You have no choice as a beneficiary.
Robert, you deal with trusts, right? Robert Christopher.
Hi, greetings.
Hi.
I'm having some dinner. Well, it depends on, it all depends really. So one other thing I tend to do is to go with the living trust first, because you gotta take care of that first and foremost, right? Your estate living trust is one of the first thing you do, and you need to have your own security agreements. And let me make some correction here. If people may disagree or agree, you can be the trustee and the beneficiary at the same time. Grantee, settlor, trustor.
Yeah, that's correct. In an inter vivos or a living trust, yeah, you can actually hold all three positions.
Exactly, right? So under such circumstances, it depends on how you want to manage your trust. That's very, very key. And you got to have your declaration and your certificate of your living trust. For me, I created my declaration estate living trust, including create a certificate which you can mail back to yourself. So basically you have the post office record on the document. Let me so when they say if you should have it recorded, you could do it through the post office, or you could take it to your county clerk of the court. But I prefer the post office way. Use registered mail number, mail it back to yourself, right? And that declaration with some of the other rest of documents will be in a sealed envelope. So you shouldn't open that. You should have your certified copies on the outside. Right?
Can I add a recommendation to that, Robert?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because one of the issues you have though is when you mail something back to yourself, like you say, you keep it sealed. That's all good and fine, and that paperwork is going to work one time and one time only. That's the time that it's opened up. Is once that seal's popped, it's popped, and anybody afterwards can always say that anything possibly could have been mailed back and forth in that envelope. So what you do is before you put it in that envelope, you can have the postmaster timestamp your document.
That's a great idea.
That's correct. But no one can ask you to open the original copy, not even a court order, because you're the owner of that document. They have to accept the certified copy because they know the original is in a vault, because it's trade secret. Right? It's trade secret. So it's the same way KFC or any one of these companies have their trade secret. It can, you know what I mean? It's never ever revealed to anyone. Your declaration is in that same category. So that package, no one can ask to open it. Only you can do it on your free will. So what I do, I make multiple copies of that and stamp on it, certified copy, title, owner, and put a date on that. That works fine. Always.
Is that kind of like
I'd like to
the
ask a question.
non-UCC? Is that like the non-UCC method? Is it also?
Exactly the same process. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
Laura.
when you're taking it to the county, I'm assuming that you're putting it on a trust special deposit. So it isn't considered being pledged to the county, correct?
Well, it is two sides of the coin. If you want to take it to them for registration, some people want to do it like that, but it's private. You don't have to do it like that. It's not necessary. The postmaster is the one who holds the record of that transaction, that security.
However, people have free will to pledge their property. So are actually banking instruments. Most will.
Connection
And
is
it
choppy.
seems to me that it should be put on.
Yeah, Lori, you're roboting hard.
Okay, can you hear me?
Not well.
Okay, so if the counties are in fact operating a bank, then if someone's going to take any of their instruments and put it there, what they typically do is they'll take those instruments and they'll pledge them and take them to the Federal Reserve window, unless it's on special deposit. So for me, it seems to me like if there's going to be a recordation of a trust special deposit, like a deposit, then it should be put on special deposit. However, I'd like to hear what your perspective is on that, or anyone else who wants to weigh in on this.
A lot was said there and it wasn't clear. What is it you're saying actually about where the special deposit comes from? All this. I'm not sure what you're,
Special
say.
deposit, instead of being a general deposit, which is handing over, banks take the instruments, the drafts, the notes, all of that, and they use it as if it's their own property. But when it's a special deposit, they have to return it exactly what's given to them, and they can't claim it in their general pool. It's a form of banking. And so is a trust, right? So it seems to me that if someone's going to record at the county, they need to make it very clear, unambiguous, that this is being put here under a special deposit.
Oh, okay. Well,
Is that like what you would put on the back of an endorsement, like USC 112, 411 or something like that?
no, that has nothing to do with that. That's total. She's putting it on record. So it's on file with the county. When you talk, if you're talking about special deposit now, one of the things when you dealing with your trust, very key thing we need to remember, is your trust going to be operating for profit or it's going to be for non-profit? So do you want FDIC on your trust or you don't want FDIC on your trust? You get what I'm saying? This is very, very key thing that we, everyone needs to know. How do you want your trust to be in the profit scenario? Or you want the trust to be in a non-profit scenario, non-interest bearing account? This is strictly in the private side of things, right? We have your meeting minutes, all your paperwork, your bylaws, etc. Right? So one other thing, there's a couple of steps that I wasn't really prepared for this. What's going to be on discussion, but maybe another time we could lay down a few things that for me, how I do it, and maybe you could see what you have going for you. So this is how you can learn to see, is it, you can look at what you have and see if there's anything you can either improve or it doesn't work for you. That's the whole thing. You got to remember, do you want this to be profit-making trust or a non-profit trust? Very important.
If we get it to be a nonprofit, do we have to get some type of EIN that's nonprofit? Like a 98 number?
Yes, you will need an EIN for that. So your certificate, your meeting minutes will specify that in there. The conditions must be in that document. And any document you sign in, because they give an application form for the trust, you must make sure cross out FDIC and write it on the document, no FDIC, or it's non-interest bearing checking account.
And it's under a
Robert,
business
I've got
account,
a question
not
on this because
Go ahead.
Robert, I had a question on this because I mean,
Go ahead.
I've not decided to go down the trust route yet.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I do agree with the nonprofit. I mean, the non-interest bearing account. I mean, that has a lot of benefits to it. But could you also write in your bylaws
Mhm.
for your trust and dictate the type of currency that the trust will deal with? And in that, dictate that the trust will only transact in gold and silver.
Sure, it's your bylaws. But you see, with these commercial banks, it depends on the institution. You want to, you know what I mean? Because they're
Well,
just
the
going to hold it.
situation,
Right.
the situation is that, I mean, whether you're saying profit or non-profit, to me, if you just put in there that you are only transacting with gold and silver, they have no jurisdiction over gold and silver.
There
So
you
at
go.
that point, it wouldn't matter if it's a profit or non-profit.
Yeah, but you still want to make that clear. Right there, you want to make, you see, you got to be very careful with words. You want the words to be there. Even
Absolutely.
though you want that in there, you will still have your, gold and silver, but you want to make it that clear. That's a non-profit entity, right?
Yeah.
So one other thing, what you just mentioned, really, Bryan, it's all about doing it and hoping that they have an idea what you're doing, but you don't want to leave any, blank space. You want to make everything clear. If you're going to be gold and silver for your account, you put that there, and it's going to be non-profit, tax exempt. You want all those words in your paperwork.
Shoot, I might just call it the Bryan Parker Silver Trust.
Yeah, that works. That's also works. That's perfect too, because that's just an entity, right?
Right, you put it right in the title, because everything that I've ever dealt with, whenever I've dictated that it is either gold or silver species that is being used,
Uh-huh.
that has always thrown a monkey wrench in things for them because they don't have any jurisdiction over that. Their jurisdiction is over the USD or the FRN.
Exactly. And now you basically just want a deposit box, like a safe deposit box, just to put your stash in, because they only can operate in what? In the fictitious world. Right?
Right.
Right.
Well, even still, it being a non-interest bearing account is a hands-off signal for them as well.
Mhm.
Those non-interest bearing accounts don't get reported to the Treasury.
Correct.
I have a question. What about if someone did Zelle or a check and deposited, through your phone? Could you say that that's silver and gold, or what are they using? Credits? Could you say that you wanted it converted to silver and gold? When they make a deposit from the Zelle?
I would just say, I would just say that any transactions that are made are recognized as being in gold and silver specie. But yeah, they do hold a dollar value. Gold and silver holds a dollar value.
But first thing we need to think about here, on whose account are they writing that check? So I wouldn't go down that road, right? So it's either they make the conversion because that now is a security.
Mm.
So for them to make it direct deposit, you're not working for that. They have to give it to you physically so you can make that exchange. So you can put that in your own deposit. You got to be careful how you manage your trust, right? There's
What
a
if
lot of
you
little
endorse-
ideas that, you know,
What if you endorse the back of the check to say that special deposit USC 112-411?
no, you go and make that conversion, then you bring your what necessary to put in your account. Don't put that check in there. Be careful now.
Yeah, I don't use any checks directly with my account.
Very good.
Any checks I receive from anybody, I take care of those through the bank that actually issued the check instead of my bank. And then
That's
from there,
it.
you can do what you want
There
with
you
it.
go. There you go. Thank you. So you could set up something that can handle that type of thing and then make the transfer to your trust, right? You could have a bank in the commercials separate to handle those things. And when you accumulate the assets, you transfer it over to your nonprofit trust.
Does your nonprofit trust need to be a business account versus a personal account?
It's going to be the business. It cannot be personal.
That's what I thought.
And you don't want anything to be personal. Stay away from personal.
Person, yeah.
Yeah, I don't use personal anything. Everything I do is all through my DBA.
Correct. Do away with the personal, okay? Personal
I think
carry
people would be,
liability, right?
I think people would be shocked. They ought to do a little bit of research as to business accounts versus personal accounts,
Very good.
both in how they're handled and in the benefits and liabilities to them. Because with the personal account, you are very locked down. You are very limited. Just a quick little example, say you want to go draw out a loan, for instance. Well, if you're just holding a personal, we'll just throw the number 10,000 out there. Say they only give you 10,000. Okay. Well, if that was a business account instead of a personal account, things are way more wide open in the business world. That's why you hear about so much fraud in the business world, is because there's so many more opportunities there. So in that situation, if you want to draw out a loan on a business account, you normally get 2 to 3 times more from the bank than you would off a personal.
Agreed. You're right on point. I hope you all get that, right? That is just give something very important there. It's important information that personal carries what liabilities. Heavy burden on the liability of a personal account. So it's best to have your entity where you're the beneficiary. You can also be the trustee over that. So you're the administrator is a better word I like to use.
This is some great
And at
information.
the same time, that's part of the reason why you're doing it as a non-interest bearing account as well.
Right.
Because it being non-interest bearing is also removing liability, because you go right back to scripture.
Very good.
Borrower is servant to the lender. And
Excellent.
if you're accepting interest, that makes you a borrower.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you're doing it not for profit. That's the key there. So one other thing as well, you got to, as you mentioned, do some research on personal and business. What's the difference between them? And you can also look at for profit and nonprofit. Weigh up the benefits between both. Right?
So just a regular EIN number isn't necessarily the 98 EIN number if it has different numbers on it, right? The 98 is the one that's non-profit? Or is that?
No, the 98 is not a nonprofit number. It is not.
The 98 is a foreign, that's a foreign EIN.
Oh,
Yeah, and it doesn't make it non-profit. Okay, it's still a taxable number, and there are proof that you gotta have get a non-profit tax exempt EIN.
Just
And
think of
there's
the EIN like this. The EIN is a number for a business, just like a social security number is a number for an individual.
right. So it's either for profit or non-profit. That is what the EIN does. So if you're going to have your trust, if you want your trust to be a non-profit, non-interest bearing, I recommend one to get a tax exempt non-profit EIN. Now, there are two jurisdictions that non-profit can come under, whether it's a 501c3 or a 508c. You gotta, find out what's the difference between both.
yeah, 508A1. Is it a 508A1?
508c.
And is,
508C1A.
yeah,
C1A.
yeah, that's the one, C1A. Like CIA. CIA, C1A. Interesting. Well, Patrick Devine.
That also requires some research too.
Yeah. Didn't Patrick Devine talk about getting a 98 number, which is a foreign?
Yeah, and after that, we back in the a couple of years ago, we realized it's also another taxable number. It's not it is not. I have the information that he was taxed on that now. So he said, do away with it.
Oh, okay. So we don't need the
just
98
get the key ones to get is the estate EIN. Then you get your non-profit EIN, tax exempt EIN.
Oh, okay.
So when you're doing your Form 56, now you're going to use your Form 56 for the SSN and the estate EIN. And then the one with the fiduciary duty on top of that's going to be the 56F over the estate EIN. So you're going to have levels. That's a different topic altogether right now. We don't want to be, jumping from here to here. We want to either, want to keep it simple.
Everybody's heads are going to be spinning for days. We're going to be having to watch this video over and over.
Exactly.
To understand.
So, right. So you got to keep it simple. If it's just trust argument, stay there. Discussion about trust, how to run a trust, different type of trust. You know what I'm saying? But it's because when you're living, we have our trust is basically a revocable trust. The moment you passed away, it now become irrevocable because what you have set in your bylaws and all your agreements, your security agreements, your whole harmless indemnification document, etc., all your power of attorney, there's no change going to be in that anymore. So now it's become irrevocable.
Is that power of attorney that 2848 IRS form?
No, your own paperwork. So that's a form you need to fill out. But you're going to have your own power of attorney document.
That's what I thought. Cool, I got that. Go ahead, Lori.
Right.
And Yoda is here too. We had 10 minutes left. Lori, did you have something you needed to say? How about you, Yoda? You're in the background there. Do you have any questions or anything that you can add to the conversation? Robert, thank you so much for that great information. And
You're most welcome.
and you too, Brian and Lori. Well, we have 10 minutes left. So basically what we were talking about is trust and getting a non-interest bearing account if you're going to go that route and have your paperwork done. You've got to have your trust paperwork done in order to pass through the bank because they're going to look at it. And you got to have your minutes and your officers, the ones that are appointed. And then you got to know if it's, you got to make sure it's a business account and not a personal account, because a person, they're going to have it tied to the social security number. And you want the business account to be tied to the EIN. And then you also mentioned that you want to also get another EIN that's going to be nonprofit. And I've heard that the 508C1A, sounds like CIA, is the better one, because the churches are doing the 501, 503. Is that what that one is? 503, 5013 something. But that's pretty much.
Yeah, the churches do 501, 501, yeah, 1C3.
503 or something like that. 501.
ChaYah, do you have a Telegram group? Because you could, another day you could use the Telegram to, have
Yes.
discussions, and you don't have to have this limitations.
I do
So
have
you
it.
just send the link to trusted friends and who are like-minded. It's not for everyone, okay?
Mhm.
That's the reason why I said certain things you don't want to just put out in public like that. You want to make sure you're perfect what's going on. A lot here is about brainstorming, okay?
Mm.
So it is important to keep it simple until you perfect the method
Mhm.
and you have your results. And then if you want to share it with someone, or you keep it simple, okay?
Yeah, I do
You
have
all
the
agree,
reconnaissance.
I agree.
I have the reconnaissance group, and I think you're
Right.
in it. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened with my phone, but it's all full and I cannot get into my Telegram. So I wasn't able to link anybody from Telegram for this meeting.
Oh, okay. But do you have
Yeah.
could
I
you go ahead and, because in there now, there are files we can, if somebody want to share a particular file with anyone, or a couple of steps that they can do their research, we could just dump those steps inside there. If you
Mhm.
agree with it, if you like it, you can run with it. If not, you can just say, oh, it's not for me. It's all good.
Yeah, I have the reconnaissance group on Telegram.
Do
Oh,
you
okay.
mind dropping the link for that?
Reconnaissance?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No, you
interrupt.
want to create a separate group just for your trust, okay? Just for the people who want to discuss things about trust, only trust,
Okay.
estate and trust, because the definition of estate is trust. They go hand in hand, okay?
Mhm.
They're not separated, all right? So if you're managing the estate, is this just as managing the trust? Okay?
Yeah, as soon as I get my phone to work, I can do reconnaissance trust and estate group.
All right, I can set up a group. I can go ahead right now, because I'm talking to you guys directly from my computer, and I
Mhm.
can create a group, set you a link, and make you be the administrator of it when you get on board, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, do you mind calling it reconnaissance? Because I like that term. Reconnaissance is a military term that you actually are going behind enemy lines. And
No, it's not about the like in mind, it's not about like. We want to keep it focused on, it's just about trust. Keep it simple.
just about trusts. Could be that.
Yeah.
Just about trust. Sounds good.
because you already have a other group called reconnaissance. We're still going about things about trust, get to understand your trust, know how to operate a trust, and what are some of the trust documents. I've got good documents and audios as well about real trust process. Keep it simple and get the job done. So let's decide on that. I will put a name. I will drop the link here, and then if you guys want to make changes, so let it be. Okay. If you want to put reconnaissance, it's not a huh? Trust law.
I said thank you. I'm sorry. I
welcome.
have poor. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I have poor connectivity.
All right.
Mhm.
Estate. I would call it estate and trust.
Estate and
Estate and
trust. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not able to get on with this new computer that I have. I have to use my phone and my phone is full, so it'll be a little bit until I can.
Let me. Is there anyone? Let me see if you're there. Let me see if I can bring you up. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna add you right away.
Mhm.
So, is there anyone else that I can add? Because I need to add at least 2 or 3
I
people so
think
you guys can,
L'Oreal wanted to
and then
go.
I can.
Yeah, me too, please.
Yep, same here.
Brian.
Yeah, sure, if you want. Yeah.
How Bryan Park?
Parker.
I don't have your thing not coming up. I have a Suzette here. Let me check Bryan Park. No, it's not coming up, and it's
You're putting together.
BRYAN.
pardon me.
BRYAN.
Right,
Okay.
I got that. But that's just the name, right?
Bryan Parker. I'm just saying
What
it's a
about-
Y.
Yeah, I know it's a Y.
Okay. All right.
But I want to know, is the name just Brian for you on Telegram?
No, it's Bryan Parker.
Okay, then I'm not seeing it. It's not coming up.